What is up, Sneeples? We are back at it again with the ultimate primer for our Part The Mistveil drafts. So your armories might be doing draft, but we also have Nationals coming up. That's going to have draft. There is the Pro Tour coming up. That is going to have draft. So draft is very, very important. So without further ado, let's get into how to win our Part The Mistveil drafts. But before we go any further, we do have a Patreon. You can see draft rankings. You can see where I have each card and where you should be drafting it. As well as I plan to have draft videos so you can see my entire draft process, and I will narrate exactly what I'm thinking, and that goes for gameplay as well with limited. So if you want even more additional information, we do have a Patreon, so consider subscribing to that. Let's get on to our video. All right, so a few things to start with, a few things to know is one, in this draft there is plenty of blues. You are not going to be blue starved. Generally, if you are just drafting, you will find yourself with enough blues to have a very functional deck. So you don't have to worry too much about blues. Equipments are very important. This is mostly true for every draft, but I just want to put this out there because I have not 3-0'd a draft without having 3 to 4 equipment. I think there was one that I had 2 equipment I ended up 3-0'ing, but I think that's pretty rare. I think you generally want to have 3 pieces of equipment, and on top of that, this class equipments can be bombs, especially in Assassin. And then finally, this is a rock, paper, scissor format. There are only 3 heroes, so you're going to get this rock, paper, scissor, where New beats Zen, Zen beats Enigma, and Enigma beats New. Obviously, this isn't always the rule. You can win a game against Enigma as New, and Zen as Enigma, and so on and so forth. We'll get into that playstyles, what you'll have to do to win your tough matchups. But generally speaking, this is the matchup breakdown. Pick 2 and pack 2 are most important. So we're going to get into exactly what I mean by that. So we are going to read the entire pack 1, pick 1, the entire pack. We're going to read everything that we're seeing because we really want to know what we are passing to our neighbor on our left, and ultimately what we are signaling. So Part The Mistveil draft is not an open draft. This is a very much draft your hero early sort of draft. And the reason why that is because unlike with heavy hitters, there's no multi-class cards. So you can't just draft good multi-class cards to stay open and then pick your hero, pick 7, 8, 9. Instead, you're picking your hero on pick 2, 3, and at the latest 4. And even though there is a mystic pool of cards that is shared amongst all heroes in this draft, the mystic cards are blue, which there are a few blue bombs, levels of enlightenment, attuned with cosmic, but most cards you're not going to be picking early on. And so despite Mystic being a shared talent amongst all heroes, the Mystic cards will often be passed early on in the packs. So you really want to be picking your class cards fairly early and determine exactly what class cards you are passing, so that when pack 2 comes around, the cards that you are passing are different than the cards that you are taking. So that might sound a bit confusing. I got some examples. Let's get into that. It's going to help explain this. Now here we have on Draftmancer where I can see everyone's pack 1, pick 1. I can look at everyone's picks. I can look at everyone's deck, and we can kind of break down exactly how the draft went. So we're going to focus on mine. My pack 1, pick 1 was a pick to pieces. However, if you look at this pack, there are cards that are much better than pick to pieces in this pack. Waxing Spectre is a bomb for Mystic Illusionist. She Unleash is a bomb for Mystic or for ninjas. And Haste Shelter is a good one as well. Even Pouncing She is pretty good. Battlefront Bastion is also a good card. So why did I pick pick to pieces. The reason is because I am thinking with this pick, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to be passing a lot of good cards. Okay. I'm going to be passing ninja cards. I'm going to be passing illusionist cards that are very, very good. If I would have picked a waxing specter, I would still be passing a haze shelter. So where my neighbor immediately to my left would probably get the She Unleashed, the next neighbor might get the haze shelter. And then when pack 2 comes around, Gimpafont is probably going to get all my picks for illusionist that I want. So by picking the assassin, where there's nothing else good for assassin here. This is a very good assassin card. This is a card that you'll need as assassin to beat the Enigma matchup. So we can pick this and safely know that our neighbors to our left, so that's like 1, 2, and 3, are probably not going to be assassin. And if we look at it, they didn't. So Salad Fingers here chose Hiss as a pack 1 pick 1. That's a really good card. He also chose to pass 2 good illusionist cards, or actually he chose to pass a bomb. And we'll get into this example here to kind of explain why not pick the manifestations. I don't think it's right or wrong. You can pick manifestations, but we'll get into that later. But he chose Hiss because he wanted to stay open. All right. But that is a good assassin card, right? Let's see what his pick 2 was. This is a pack that we're passing. He chose She Unleashed. So it worked in the fact that despite him also picking an assassin card, we showed that we picked an assassin card because there's only one assassin card in this pack. So we're telling our opponent, or we're telling our neighbors, Salad Fingers, like, hey, I picked the assassin card. So keep that in mind. And then I'm also passing a good ninja card. So then this ninja card is taken and he becomes ninja throughout the entire process. He just continues picking ninja cards and makes a ninja deck. So boom, I don't have to worry about that. Gimpafont obviously went illusionist, as they were past the manifestation mirror guy. Is a good sign. The James also went all illusionist. Sander went ninja. We got another ninja. We got another illusionist. And it's not till we get to Doomslug, my neighbor to my right, that we get our second assassin. So on pack 2, I'm going to have all these picks before Doomslug, which is very, very good because despite me getting, despite Doomslug being to my right and having first picks to pack 1 and pack 3, pack 2 is most important because that is where I can get all my reds that Doomslug does not have privy to, and then I can just build the deck throughout. I did end up going 2-1 into this. I went into the finals, and I believe I lost to Gimpafont, if I can remember right. His deck is very, very good, as he was in a very good spot. So 2-1 is a very good draft, though. I count that as a win. Going 3-0 is obviously the goal. But that is just to show that this worked out. Now, I wanted to go back and talk about Salad Fingers' choice to choose Hiss over Manifestation Mirror Guy. In that same way that we chose a pick to pieces and sending the illusionist cards and ninja cards so that we didn't see another assassin until like Doomslug, Salad Fingers chose to choose the Hiss so that he would also not see another assassin anytime soon. And it did work. No other assassins were around. However, because I gave him the She Unleashed, he did go Tiger. And that worked out for him as well. He had a very solid Tiger deck. But why pass the Manifestation Mirror Guy? That is clearly a bomb. I think you basically force Gimpafont to be illusionist, which is not a bad thing, but it's only a bad thing when you have to face Gimpafont, right? Now, One way to think about this is if it was just manifestation of Mirror Guy and it wasn't a spectral manifestation or yellow waxing specter, or red astral etching. Like if these cards didn't exist, if this was like a blue card, blue card, blue card, and you have manifestation Mirror Guy, you take the manifestation Mirror Guy, that is clearly the bomb, and that is going to work very, very well for you. However, in this case, there is 3 good illusionist cards, and that one's not bad either. So if you take the manifestation Mirror Guy, probably Gimpafont is going to take spectral manifestation, and then maybe even the James takes astral etchings. And yes, you can be the first illusionist, but there's no guarantee that I'm not also being illusionist, or Doomslug isn't being illusionist. And so if you pick this and you stick to illusionist, you are at the will of the neighbors to your right. But then because you're sending such good illusionist cards, you're at the will to the neighbors of your left. And you can become the middle illusionist. No one wants to be in the middle. By passing all these good cards, it's kind of just like a necessary evil, it seems. Like, yes, Manifestation Mirror Guy is a bomb, but you are guaranteeing yourself a good 2-1 deck if you go with the hiss, and then again the She Unleashed afterwards. You could get a 3-0 deck real easy with Manifestation Mirror Guy, but again, you are at the will of your neighbors on both left and right side. And being the middle hero is not impossible to go 3-0. I've done it twice now, but it is not easy. It's going to take a lot of skill. Okay. Let's get back into the PowerPoint, and we'll go through more examples as well. Pack 1, Pick 2 is where you'll choose your hero most of the time. And that's truly the case. This is very much you're choosing your hero early on. As you saw in my previous example, I was able to manipulate where my neighbor to my left, Salad Fingers, chose his hero by Pack 2. And that's kind of pretty common. Sometimes it's as early as Pick 1, but Pick 2 is oftentimes where you'll choose your hero because you're going to be looking at what is passed to you. So let's go and see another example here of where I'm choosing my hero, Pick 2. So here we are, different draft. This is the pack I open. All right. Now, nothing is reading strong except for Assassin here. The Venomous Bite Red is the best card in this pack, with Bonds of Attraction being probably the second best. So, the equipment is very meh. The Transcend card's okay. So, I'm very happy taking a Venomous Bite. And when I'm taking the Venomous Bite, I'm not choosing my hero right now. I'm just taking the best card in the pack. I'm going to wait until Pick 2 to see what my neighbor passed to me. All right, so I see early on in this pack, this is Pick 2 here, that we have 2 Assassin cards, 2 Ninja cards, and 2 Illusionist cards. As we can see, that's usually what the breakdown is. You get 2 Assassin, 2 Ninja, 2 Illusionists. Then you get 2 Mystics, and then 1 to 2 generics, a Transcend card, equipment card, 2 rares, and a foil. Well, we got the 2 Assassins, 2 Ninja, 2 Illusionists. We got 1 Mystic. We have 2 generics. We have our Transcend card, and then we have some rares, and we have a foil. So I believe because this is a rare, I believe my neighbor to my right actually picked an equipment, and that's what happened. Their Pack 1 Pick 1 was a Skybody Kaikoi. So that was their equipment slot. So that's what I can read out of this. It's like, okay, my neighbor did not, pick any class cards, pick the equipment card. But what they did show me is like, hey, I will pass you a red Astral Etchings, which is a good card. It's a very, very good card. Puts +1 counters on my auras. So we like to look for that when we are looking for Illusionist cards. So this was the best card in the entire deck, and I'm very happy to take it. So I take that, And then I'm passing a Waxing Spectre. There's really nothing else showing this deck. So now it's feeling very apparent that Dragon sent me Illusionist cards and does not tend to be Illusionist. The Illusionist cards are a little bit mixed here though. And we're gonna get into what exactly happened in this draft. So we're not seeing a ton of great Illusionist cards. We did see right there, that's a good Tiger card. At this point though, it would feel like I have 3 cards that would not fit this class. Going Tiger wouldn't have been bad, but it would have been risky. And you can see here, the draft isn't necessarily going my way. Now, I'm showing you this draft because I ended up 3-0ing this draft. So it's not looking particularly great. So what I know from this, just from how things are looking, is that I'm pretty sure Reddick or Dragon actually just went into Illusionist and just changed into Illusionist. That can happen. Your neighbor to your right can just shift on you, and that will happen. But what I am doing is I'm still sending signals to McToad that Illusionist isn't open. I'm even sending signals to Jacob. Illusionist isn't open. So if we then look at our pack 2 pick 1, we get a red sigil solitude, nothing great, but we get past a wounding blow here, nothing awesome, and then we get past a red Waxing Spectre. So the signal that we sent did work. We did send that, hey, do not be Illusionist. So now that we are getting some good Illusionist cards. Waning Vengeance, that got passed to us as well. We get a Homage here, that's just to get some Transcend cards. And then if we look at the decks of all the, I end up getting a few Waning Vengeance and Waxing Specters, but McToad went Assassin, Jacob went Ninja, Jixby went Ninja as well, and then it was not till we get to Cynthia that there is an Illusionist. So we have 3 non-Illusionists to my right or to my left that I'm passing to pack 1, so that by pack 2 I'm getting the good Illusionist cards. So Dragon did end up going Illusionist. He kept open, you can see through his packs, picking just like a lot of equipment. I don't agree with this. He even picks an Assassin card here. Equipment are important, but I don't think you pick your whole equipment suite like within the first few picks, honestly. And Truce Retold's not that great of a card. Not flaming Dragon or anything. I'm just giving out general advice here. He ended up going Illusionist, which I think, let's see, I think he is just the 3rd Illusionist, so it was okay to go Illusionist, yeah, because Reddick is Ninja and Zamho is Assassin. So he was fine to be Illusionist, as there wasn't but he was the middle Illusionist. So being open that long, he did put himself to be the middle one, and so therefore between me and Cynthia, his deck just suffered a little bit. He did get some fairly solid picks, but like none of this is the right home value. He did get a few Spectral Manifestations, but we ended up facing each other, I think, round 2, and I was able to get there despite that. So back to the PowerPoint. This one's a little bit long one because of the examples, but I hope that they're helping out. I hope that they're helping explain why you have to pick super early and then like how you're picking. So pack 1, pick 2 is where you'll choose. As we saw, I chose the Venomous Bite, pack 1, pick 1, and in pack 1, pick 2, saw the red Astral Etchings and decided, okay, that got passed to me. There's a good chance that my neighbor to my right is not Illusionist. Even though they switched to Illusionist, the draft still worked out because I sent those signals strong because I picked my hero early. And then that gets me to my last point, don't stay open longer than pick 5. And that is because there's a good chance if you do that you will be the middle hero, and you don't want to be the middle hero. That was it for the examples. Now we're just going to get into the play styles for each of these heroes. But the heroes of Part The Mistveil, we have new. You're going to have a lot of banished effects. That's going to be good for your Transcend ability. And you're going to have new is the only one with attack reaction. So that's how you're going to sneak in damage. Enigmas, you're gonna work with your auras. This is your weapons, and you like the auras that come with counters or cards that give counters to auras, because this allows you to attack multiple times throughout the entire game. And then Zen, you're going to have Tiger Generation and Tiger Pumps, because you want to make the most out of these tigers. Okay, let's get into new. So just a draft recap, you want to draft your attack reactions first. It's definitely more important to get those first and then get your red and blue assassin attacks. Blues are good because of your dagger, so they're fine. But definitely draft the reds first. New is the one that you can have the least amount of blues. You can have a 10 blue new deck and you'd be fine. 10 to 12 is pretty good, particularly if you're going against Enigma. You do want to try to have at least 2 blues a hand sometimes, just so that you can go dagger. And then you want about 2 transcend cards. You don't want too many, as you really are just going to have 1 to 2 big pop-off transcend turns where you use New's ability to banish cards and then play their own cards. Generally, you're going to be doing that. You're going to be playing the best cards when you do this, so like 2 turns is probably the most you'll get out of it. Your third new ability will probably not be all that great. You might get 1 card to play. Where your first 2, you can play like 2 to 3 cards depending on what you banish. Pick the pieces is a must. This is one of the few ways you can beat Enigma. That is your hard matchup. So you need pick the pieces to get damage through. And then oftentimes she's the 2 hero of the pod. And what I mean by that is because there's 3 heroes, but there is 8 people drafting, so there's going to be not an even split. So it's going to be a 3-3-2. If it's a very good draft pod, that's ideal. And oftentimes New is the 2 hero, where Zen, there'll be 3 people on Zen, 3 people on Enigma. Let's get into New's matchups, how she has to play into her matchups to win. In the mirror match, attack reactions are what going to get your damage through. That's what you're really going to be focusing on. You want to be careful on which cards are blocking, but you don't want them to come in with their own assassin attacks against you. And you're going to want to play in a tempo style, which means kind of work the math on it to determine, hey, is this better to be blocking here? Can I take some damage because I'm going to present a lot of damage? You basically want to, go back and forth on being defensive and aggressive, whatever works to keep you in tempo. Enigma. So here you're going to dagger often. You're going to either start with 1 to 2 daggers a turn, and that is because these daggers can help make things annoying for New, especially if she has auras out, because she's going to want to protect that aura, especially if it's a big one, and so daggers can help destroy each of those auras, or force her to block unfavorably. Putting a 3 block in front of a dagger always feels good for New. You want to save your attack reacts for your pick to pieces, so that when you find a pick to pieces, it can just be used instantly. And then you want to deal big damage when auras are down. So when there are times where New will just accept that she's not going to be able to keep her board state and let your daggers kill some auras. If that's the case, if you have some Battlefront Bastions, some fact-finding missions in reds, just an assassin attack with an attack reaction, you want to deal big damage. That is for sure. Get some big damage when the auras are down, because that is what's going to be needed to get her to keep playing more and more defensively. You're going to need to get her down in life. Otherwise, she will sit behind her aura shields and just have them absorb damage every time. And then play aggressively. Definitely look to block little and attack wide as possible. All right, and then against Zen, you're going to be playing the opposite. You're going to be playing pretty defensively, looking to win into the second cycle. Honestly, your attack reacts block for 3, your attacks block for 3. You can block 3 and send 1 pretty easy with New, and I think that would be very ideal. Look to transcend early, because the sooner you transcend, the sooner you can see the chi in the second cycle and be able to use it to hopefully win the game. You do want to take cards away from them, either from blocking or from top of deck. Oftentimes Zen doesn't even like to block, so oftentimes you can send a 0 for 3 and plan on it hitting. You can also oftentimes plan on your daggers hitting, so if you want to kind of go a little wide, that's kind of a safe bet that sometimes the Zen will just not want to block a dagger, so you could go a little wider. Just make sure you're not taking too much damage to do so. All right, Enigma. So a draft recap, you want to get the red instant auras. That is especially Waxing Spectre, but Waning Vengeance is pretty good too, and even Haze Shelter. You want to look for +1 counters cards, so like Spectral Manifestation, Astral Etchings. There's a few cards like Vengeful Apparition. Once it gets destroyed, it can put a counter on a card. You're going to look for a little bit of cards like that. You're going to draft 15 to 18 blues. Try to make sure a lot of them are block 3 blues, as you want to be very defensive in most games, but not all. And then you want 4 to 5 Transcend cards. That is because Enigma Transcend ability is one of the best in Limited, as you can make very much you can make good work out of those auras, those spectral shields. This does take the most time or most work to learn the playstyle. The draft isn't too bad. You can draft a pretty good Enigma deck, but learning to play Enigma is something that will take some time and work. She definitely has to be very fluid. You have to be very fluid when you're playing her. There's not one set of rules that you can do. It's not like Zen where you can just attack a lot, or New where you can block and then do attack edge. You have to be very fluid, not only with the matchup, but also with hand to hand. So that's why it takes a lot of time to work, but she's very rewarding. A good Enigma player can beat her bad matchups. All right. And then as far as in the draft pod, this will be sought after by Illusionist mains. Illusionist mains are out there, that's for sure. And then this is also tends to be more skilled players tend to gravitate towards this, either because less skilled players don't want to play Enigma cards, so they'll pass them, or it's because she is one of those decks where the more skilled you are with her, the better your chances are to win. That is more attractive to more skilled players. I'm certainly not saying that only skilled players plays Enigma, or you have to be a skilled player to play Enigma, but what I am saying is that she will more than likely be a 3 hero in the pod. Let's go over her matchups. So New, you want to try to get a strong aura down. This is like your red instant auras, and then do what you can to protect it. You don't want to build too much of a board state, so you don't want to get too many auras out there because of pick the pieces. But having like one good aura, kind of blocking, and then coming in with, and attacking with that aura for 4 or 3 or whatever the case, pretty good. You'll work with that every time. Not a bad thing. All right, Enigma balls. This one's really won by turn 0 or even turn 1. It's all about board state in this matchup. The Enigma that has the most auras tends to win. Life totals really don't matter here. So what you're looking to try to put out here is ward with 4. So ward 4, or like a Waxing Spectre red, which is ward 3 but has a +1 counter. You're trying to attack for 4. You're trying to attack for breakpoints. You're trying to make it hard for your Enigma opponent to block and save their auras. So ward 4 is very good. Spectral Shield attacks are very good, as they are free attacks that are small and annoying to deal with. This is something that you're trying to do, because what your plan is to get one good aura out, attack with it, and then just start blocking for it and maybe attack with it and put one more aura out, and then blocking those, and then each time you put another aura out, it becomes that much harder for your opponent to clear the board state. So very, very important to have the board state in this matchup. You don't want to just block all out. You definitely want to be attacking to clear their board state. So, keep in mind that you're going to be trading some auras here, but if you can have the ones that are more annoying, the ones that have breakpoints, the ones that have go again, then you are going to be in the lead. And then Zen, be prepared to lose your board state. So this is kind of the opposite mindset. And you're going to lose your board state and rebuild each turn. So you want to get your maximum value out of your auras. And what that means is that you want to be playing your red auras, like your Waning Vengeance, your Waxing Specters, your Haze Shelters. You want to play them on your turn, attack with them, get the full value, the full hit value off of them, because Zen generally just doesn't block, and then allow them to do their ward on Zen's turn. So like a Waning Vengeance, you come in for 3, hit him for 3, and then allow it to die. You don't need to try to protect it. Zen goes way too wide, and if you try to protect your auras, you're going to get punished by a Crouching Tiger attacking for 1, and you won't get full value. Look to get your full value though. Like, don't let a Crouching Tiger kill your Waning Vengeance. Maybe try to block with something like a Spectral Shield or something, but and then wait for like a 3 attack to come in for your Spectrals, for you just not to block and let your Waning Vengeance take that damage. Ultimately, what you're trying to do is get the maximum value out of each aura, both on the attack and defense. Alright, now let's talk about our last hero, Zen. Draft recap: Tiger Generations first and then pumps. Tiger Generation is very good. You don't necessarily need to draft pumps before that because your weapon's a pump, so that's nice. Mystic attacks for the late game, push. What I mean by that is like Droplet, Spillover, Rising Tide. Well, these aren't particularly good, but they do get very good in the late game when they're followed by like a blue flex. Because then they get their full value, they get their additional bump, and it helps to just get big damage in the late game to finish out the game. With Zen, you do want about 12 blues. You do want 1 blue every hand. And then you don't need very many Transcend cards. Even if you're combo heavy, I really wouldn't do more than 2 ever. But 0 to 1 feels right. Having 0 Transcend card in the Zen deck, perfectly fine. Big attacks work well here too. So don't think that you're only going wide with Zen. You should also look at a red Battlefront Bastion and be like, yeah, that looks good. Red Fact Finding Mission, yeah, that looks good. Red Blanche, yeah, take it. Zen tends to be the most popular hero in a pod. Ideally, there will only be 3 Zens in a pod. It could go up to 4. You never know. But yeah, Zen is one of the easier ones to pilot, the easier one to draft, and also is probably the hero that is more associated with our last set, heavy hitters. Zen's kind of just a numbers game, so a lot of people will be drafting coming from heavy hitters draft and know how to play Zen because they have drafted heavy hitters. All right, let's talk about his matchups. So new, you have to be very careful on how you're blocking because they will use your blue cards against you. Or they will gain life from how you're blocking, and you don't want that. There is options to don't block at all. I'm going to say this right now. That does not mean never ever block. That means you need to look at the math on it to determine if blocking is worth it or not. If you could block for 3 or attack for 3, I would say generally look to attack for 3. But that's not always the case, so this does not mean never block with Zen, but there's times where you don't have to block at all. Okay, past that, big attacks really help here to get over the 3 blocks. You're going to want to set up for these big turns, especially with these big attacks. Put in like a Battlefront Bastion down in your arsenal so that you can still have your wide turn that they're going to start blocking, and then end with a 3 for 7 or 3 for 6. And that could be where new only has 1 to 2 cards left in their hand, where they either have to block it out and not do anything to you, which is great, or they have to block with only 1 card, take 3 damage, just so they can still do something as far as an attack towards you, which is also pretty good. That's how you get some damage in. Enigma is all about pressuring them, pressure, because you don't want them to feel comfortable, and by making all these little tigers, you are making them uncomfortable. So your game plan is going to shift according to what is on the board. If there are no auras on the board, if auras are down, look to go big. Get your big damage in. Get your She's Unleashed in. Your fact-finding missions, your Blanches, whatever. Get those attacks in. Get some big damage in there. Because they're probably going to try to put out a board state on their turn. So take advantage of their lack of ward and get big damage through. And then when they have ward, look to go wide. Don't let them keep an aura around for more than one turn. Look to go wide on them. Come in with tigers. Make sure that your tigers are coming in the most efficient manner. If you have 2 tigers, there's maybe you played a tiger form incantation. And then you also got a tiger when you block the strides or something. Make sure you make those tigers each come in for 1 point of damage or over 1 point of damage. Split it up so that each tiger will see some damage coming through, because that is what's going to kill those auras. Those tigers are hungry for auras. And then in the mirror match, you want to win the die roll. You really, really do. This is very similar to the Phi mirror match, where you want to win the die roll and go second. After that, you're going to really be doing math work to determine your best attacks and your best blocks. Oftentimes, it's going to favor in attack. So oftentimes, you're going to be taking damage to deal damage. But that is not always the case. And sometimes it could be more favorable to block. So you definitely want to make sure that you're doing the maximum efficiency for your hands. So that is it. Go out there, have some fun, practice. I've done a ton of these drafts. Part the Mistveil is turning out to be a pretty fun set to draft. If you do have any questions that maybe I didn't answer for you, feel free to comment below. If you want to see any more additional videos relating to drafts or draft tier lists, be sure to subscribe to our Patreon. I want to give a special shout out to our Patreon subscribers: Alex, Artis, Blaine, Steven, Philippe, Logain, The Guardian, Torpong, Luis, Brandon, John, Jonathan, Maxime, S, Michelle, Chima, Daniel, Waxit, Joshua, Kovacs, Rod, Alex Hamilton, and Chris Allen. Thank you all for being such great Patreon subscribers. And a special shout out to a friend and teammate of mine, John from Lupine Fiasco from Daily Fab Gameplay, for our little Enigma Easter egg. So thank you very much for watching, guys, and keep on fabbing.